How you doing, kid?
I'm doing great. How are you, Paul?
I'm okay. There are so many things that's going on in the state legislature, and I wanted to touch base with you because trying to keep up with all these bills and the ones that are still alive, and as we referenced a little bit earlier, you have them closer to, if they're dead, they're closer to dead now. So just a little bit of a review on any bills out there that you guys are still watching with concern or interest.
Well, there's nothing with concern, but certainly with interest for House Bill 1158 that passed the Senate yesterday. That's what we've been really working on.
All right, tell me about that one.
Well, it has some minor tweaks. A lot of what we talked about last time I was here, which is making it easier for patients to actually get their card with interfacing with their physicians who are certifying them. A couple things, giving the Department of Health and Revenue extra enforcement powers and the ability to do background checks with the MBI and the FBI. So that's mostly what we've been focused on.
Those are still alive, both in the House and Senate, or in the House and the Senate, of course.
It just came out of the Senate. It's going back to the House where it originated, and we hope that they're going to concur.
Is that part of the deadline today? I mean, is any deadlines on this one, or is it toward the end of the session?
Yesterday.
The deadline was yesterday
To get it out of the Senate, yeah.
But it is still alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm wondering, at the start of the season, there were quite a few bills out there, but were there any that died that need to be resurrected, or you think, man, we've got to have this, and looking forward to next year to put them back in there?
No, we've worked really closely with Chairman Yancey and Blackwell to work on how do we put this all in one bill. So a lot of other states, if you look at the year after they started their program, people filed 40 or 50 bills. We really only had a handful this year, and it was, your typical Democrats filing recreational bills. And then there was a solid push for a medical cleanup bill that would make tweaks to the administrative portion of the program. That's what 1158 does. And then some repealers that they also extended.
Is your group pushing one way or the other the initiative process?
We're not.
The overall assessment, give us a little bit of a review here where we are as to the numbers. Because what we hear out there, and I'm not sure if this is viable or not, but what we hear is so far it's been a very big disappointment. We heard that early on. It may have changed. That was several months ago, right after the roll-in. That it's been kind of a disappointment. It's been slower than we have anticipated, and we also heard that there are some of these folks who've invested a lot of money are a little bit worried right now, and just to need this thing to kickstart to get their money back. What's your assessment of this?
It's definitely been a slow rollout for the patient side because I think a lot of folks
that's the big side there,
right? That's where you recoup your money, yeah. But a lot of people thought that this was going to be just like Oklahoma, and we worked very hard to make sure it was a well-regulated program, that we were only servicing the people who actually needed to be serviced, and now we're seeing the fruition of what we asked for, which is it's not some big explosion like you saw in Oklahoma.
So you're saying that's a good thing?
I think so. I think for the health and longevity of the industry, it is.
Yeah. Where are they now as far as Oklahoma? Because they have all kinds of problems there.
Well, they just tried to go instigate a recreational initiative that they voted down. Over 60% of Oklahomans voted against it on Tuesday.
Oh, really? Against a recreational bill? Mm-hmm. How about that? To the point where you think the same thing is here? There a lot of steam has gone away from maybe recreational, or is it something that's probably wanted more now than even before?
There are certainly some companies that I think would, but I think when you actually talk to the people of Mississippi, and we've done surveys asking people what they think about the medical program, and there are more people who are interested in seeing what medical marijuana can do for people in Mississippi than are interested in seeing anything else.
You got some numbers for us as far as the number of patients we have now?
As of last Friday evening, we're about 3,200 patients, a little bit more than 3,200 patients, with a little over 2,000 that are waiting to get their applications reviewed by the Department of Health. So it's slowly picking up. They're addressing more and more patients every day at the Department of Health to actually approve or deny them. So
you getting any feedback from the Department of Health on how fast they're doing this and do they need help, et cetera, et cetera?
I think I think every state agency needs some amount of help.
So I saw you smile on there. Are you saying that they're not doing it fast enough?
I think they're doing it. Well, I think actually for the nuts and bolts of the program, they did it very fast. We sold in under a year. But I do get complaints from members that they wish that more and more patients would be addressed, and I think we'll see, based off my conversation with the Department of Health, I think we'll see a big uptick in that very soon.
What's the average time of processing?
For a patient card or for
you go to the doctor, you get a card, and then
it's about.
I guess the doctor who presents that card, you got to go present that card.
Right, so the doctor, they tell the Department of Health, hey, I saw Paul, and I've certified that he has one of the conditions that needs medical cannabis, and so he should have it. And then you have to
that transaction or that information goes directly from the doctor to the Department of Health. The patient doesn't make that communication.
The patient also makes the communication.
Oh,
so
do they?
Both, yes.
Okay.
And then the Department of Health has to pretty much match that up and make sure that the patient is, a citizen and they are who they say they are, and then a card will be issued then. So it takes about 28 to 30 days.
So what is the wait time then after the Department of Health gets it officially?
Right now it's about a month. It's been coming down pretty consistently. It was a little over a month. Now it's a little under a month, and I think they're going to keep taking that down.
I'm interested in this though. What would the Department of Health actually have to do? I mean, the doctor certified it. Does the Department of Health got to go through the arrest records or whatever on this, or how does that happen?
I'm not entirely sure.
What do they do?
I do know that there's some amount of verification on identity, but I don't think there's anything really more than that. But they would know better. I mean, I am not as much involved in the patient side of things as I am the business.
I guess if you have a drug conviction, you can't do that. You can't get a card?
Oh, yeah, you can.
Well, you can have a drug conviction in your past and still get a medical card.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's between you and your doctor. I mean, you can get a lot of drugs with a former conviction.
I'm wondering why would it take a month for this to be done?
I don't know. I know that in the bill that they passed yesterday, they gave them a month last year to respond, and it has been shortened as of yesterday to 10 days.
To 10 days.
Yeah.
As far as some assessment, and give us an idea where we are from your association, where we are as far as number of growers and processors and testers and all of that. Any changes from the last time you were here?
Yeah, so the market as a whole has a little over 200 licensed companies. And we've got about 160 or so licensed dispensaries in the state, but only about 35 or 40 of them are actually active. Most are still trying to figure out when they want to enter the market or when they're going to be building out their dispensary. We've got a fair number of processors and I don't remember the number of processors. We've got about 70 growers, and those are tiered between micro tier 1, which is 100% Mississippi owned and less than 1,000 square feet of space, all the way up to a tier 6, which will be up to 150,000 square feet.
Do you guys get the almost like the gaming commission? You get the expected people who are asking for licenses. Do you know how many other people want to come into the business right now? Or is there any? Are there any?
We don't get that.
You don't get it?
Yeah, because we're a nonprofit, we're not subsidized in any way by the state. So we have a great working relationship with the Department of Health, and they share numbers with us every so often when they put it all together. So no, we don't have those official numbers. We've looked around. The Department of Health produces all of the licensed entities, but not the seeking license entities.
Has anyone gone under or decided to close their operation that you know of?
Yes, quite a few. Yeah.
Is that right?
I wouldn't say they went under, but they just decided that the Mississippi market wasn't one for them.
Can we talk about that when we come back?
Absolutely.
Just give us a review of that and how's it going to affect the overall operation. More with Ken Newburger, Executive Director, Mississippi Medical Marijuana Association. Joe Max Higgins joins us at 8:05. Coming up, the Golden Triangle, the groundbreaking ceremony of Steel Dynamics, the largest economic development project in the state's history. We'll get an overview. And speaking of timelines, what's the timeline now after the groundbreaking? Back with more next. Ken Newburger is continuing with us with a couple of other questions here. And again, live from the Trustmark Studios for business loans to online tools to cash management. Trustmark fits your business to a T. Trustmark, people you trust. Advice that works. Member FDIC. And again, C-Spire text line, as always, is 601-879-4395. We're talking when we left to Ken about some businesses deciding, you said didn't close the doors, but decided not to open the doors. They just haven't made that leap. And they look at the numbers and said, well, maybe the Mississippi market is not strong enough to enter.
Or crowded. We've seen a lot of out-of-state companies decide not to come. That's mostly who has decided that they're not going to open their stores or bring their grow expertise here. Most of the companies that exist are Mississippi started.
There were some frequently asked questions, and I thought since you were here, see if these have changed since the rollout. Dispensaries may sell cannabis products in the following forms: edibles, beverages, tropical creams and ointments, oils and tinctures, and the suppositories contain THC or cannabinoids. The variety of products available depends on the dispensary. Is that still a fact?
That's still true.
The health insurance providers do not cover medical marijuana. We knew that, and that's still not covered, right?
That's correct.
Not every doctor is registered with the state to certify the person seeking to qualify for medical cannabis. I do believe that, how does that look? Are we getting more and more doctors? Because what do you have to do to get certified, first of all?
It's an eight hours of education that the health department has approved, along with I believe they've done it with the Mississippi Board of Medical Licensure and developed
it's 8 hours.
Curriculum. Yes.
And how is that trending? First of all, because you've got medical doctors, you've got the DOSs, you've got MPs and PAs, you've got optometrists. So is that trending one occupation or the other a little bit more, or is it more doctors?
It's more doctors. We have more physicians who are adopting it than anybody else.
Is there a waiting list there? They have to be approved, of course, by the Department of Health also. So there's a waiting list there also?
Yes, they have to realize that the doctor has actually gotten their hours. So they report that to the Department of Health, and the Department of Health says, yes, you have registered and taken those courses. So do
we know how many of those are out there across the state?
Last I heard it was a little over 100, but I'm not sure what the number is now. That was a couple months ago.
Is that process moving fast? There's nothing in that bill that we referenced a little bit earlier that speeds that up, is it?
No, but it does put a new restriction that nothing beyond what is allowed in the bill can be added to what doctors have to do. So the 8 hours required in the bill is it. So if there are no new...
So it just solidifies that.
Yes.
Are all of the medications, or not the medications, but the ailments, the reasons that you can get that, are all of those the same? Do we add anything to that? I think there were like 28 different things like cancer, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Nothing was added. I know a lot of people, including our association, wanted to see some things added, but it just wasn't something that we could do this year.
What did you want to add?
We wanted to add anxiety and insomnia. Those are the two that we wanted to see.
Well, hell, in this administration, that would be the entire population.
Yeah.
Children can qualify for medical cannabis card if certified by a doctor and with parental or custodial approval. That's the same?
That's correct.
Background checks are required for anyone involved in production or sale of medical cannabis. We know that's the same. All licensed facilities must be enclosed and have 24-hour video surveillance and alarm. Are the processors out there asking for anything that you know of and said, look, boy, we need some help on this or that?
No, most people are fine with that. There's some minor clarifications that we need from the regulations, but nothing in the law.
All right. I think I think we're not where we wanted to be or where the industry wanted to be at this time. Do you go back, just a final couple of questions here, Ken, and Ken Newburger, who's executive director of the Medical Marijuana Association, has been so kind to come in. But Ken, can you point to any other state where you look at it and say, all right, they've gone through the same thing and it's turned out okay for them?
Yeah, one of the slowest rollouts was Maine, and they turned out just fine.
How long did it take them?
It took them a solid, 6 to 12 months to get a critical mass of patients. And even then, it took a long time before a lot of the companies really stabilized. So I think we're going to see the same thing here. There have been some improvements in the bill. We can now, if the bill that passed yesterday eventually makes its way to the governor's desk and he signs it or lets it become law, people will be able to sell, traditional CBD that you see across the state. That's in an effort to try to take that out of an unregulated market and put it into the regulated market of the medical cannabis industry. So that should help bring more customers into people's.
Is that going to confuse people, or in other words, you could go into a medical marijuana store and also get the CBD oil?
That's right. I don't think that's going to confuse people at all. I think people who use CBD are already using it with some level of self-medication in this state. So I think this would help bring that into a much more regulated space.
But the average public cannot go in there without a card and buy the CBD oil.
Oh, they would. Yes, they would be able to section off a portion that would say.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm, so like the front portion where you.
This would be the first time that someone without a card could actually enter a store and make a purchase there.
Right, but they wouldn't be able to go to the section of the store that the dispensary has blocked off for a high THC product.
But I mean, it's okay right now if you can walk into a store if you don't have a card, you just can't buy anything.
Well, you can't. All of the ones I've been in have a door that you can't go past that door. So you can go into the store, but there's a door where all the product is, and you can't go into that back part.
So where the good stuff is, you can't go into it.
That's right.
What happens if you need assistance? If you're elderly and you need assistance?
Well, they have somebody at the front to check you in and say, okay, well, you're here, so we're gonna let you in, and Sarah is gonna take you around the store and talk to you about it. Whoever it is, right?
Are any comments on the people that we're training? A lot of these are younger people. Any comments on that?
Yes. I've heard from most of my members that as they've done searches to find their management and for these dispensaries and for processing companies and for grows, they're getting a lot of applicants who are under the age of 35 that are coming back to Mississippi. So a lot of people are excited to see younger people moving back to the state.
Yeah, just on a personal basis, how did you get into this? Because I'm sure when you were 17 or 18 years old, somebody asked you what you would be doing in Mississippi, you probably wouldn't have chosen this or guessed this. So, but how did this road lead you to where you are
all
now?
My friends make fun of me because they all say in high school, if one of us was going to advocate for cannabis, it was not going to be you.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
though,
I was the straight-laced guy. So I was washed up here originally through Katrina from New Orleans, and then I went to college here as well. I got involved with College Republicans while I was in college, and I worked on a couple different campaigns and eventually found my way to the Mississippi Medical Marijuana campaign and was fortunate enough to be the campaign manager for that.
I will say this, that I found you skeptical. Not skeptical. I was skeptical of you at first, and we've had and
so was my wife.
Well, I don't blame her, because you got to wonder. Wait a minute, where's this straight-laced guy coming into the medical marijuana? Something's going on. There's this other personality we don't know, and we got to figure out who it is. But I think over a period of time, I understood that you were in this for this reason, and there were some good reasons. So that relationship is I think kind of matured between the host and you over time, and I'm grateful of that. So
I like being here.
Thank you. I gave you hell first couple of them.
That was fun.
I was surprised you ever came back, to be honest with you. So,
it's fun.
Your wife has probably said the same thing,
yes,
so don't feel bad about
it. I don't know why she invited me back.
Ken, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anytime you need us, give us a call.
I will. Thank you.
You got it. Ken Newburger, Executive Director, Mississippi